It's always good to hydrate right before typing away my thoughts on the document that is my third book. With books, I've always made it clear that, to me at least, is something that's powerful and unique in a world that's sparred and full of entertainment and huge distractions. This is largely due to the fact that with how our climate is, many of us are starting to get lazy. We choose the easy way, and as such, we tend to lose our own creativity. Back when I was a kid, I had this desire to create something. It wasn't always a book in particular, but I made it clear that I wanted to tell a story. I drew characters, doodled in my notebook, had them write different ideas and explain different types of the world, and then I used that to fuel the knowledge that I was seeking. It was innocent, but also naive, especially for someone in 2nd to 3rd grade. But now, as an up-and-coming high schooler, I've learned that the process of writing has challenged my beliefs in more ways than one, and I want to document how much that's challenged me so I can personally help you start writing your first book. If you don't know me, I'm Arnel Arcega. I'm one of the healthiest authors and writers you will ever encounter on this platform. As such, I make sure people stay on the path of reading and writing so they can not only improve their lives, but also be more creative in the long run. If you want personal help to write your own story after this video, then check out the Instagram down in the link of the description, as well as my own books to fuel your knowledge. With that said, I'm going to teach you all the fundamentals of books, what I've learned, and more specifically, what you can do to not make the same mistakes as I did. I will never forget the first experience I've ever had writing my book. It was a unique, charming experience, but it's honestly become a vague, kind of foggy memory the more time passes. Many viewers of this channel know the history behind my book, but for more of that lore explanation, I'm going to dig a little deeper. Back in my freshman year, this was towards the late end of it, I had the full idea of my book down. 6 chapters with the title A Small World Smiles. Originally, it was a comedian book talking about a middle-aged man trying to find a spark in life. I've had this idea the moment January came rolling around, and 2024 gave me a lot of ideas due to the fact that I shaved my head off. It was a wild time, but I made sure that this moment in which I just get more ideas didn't distract me, but rather fueled the energy inside me to make more than what I was giving. That gave me A Small World Smiles, which you can see under the link of this description. It's a book that, while naive and innocent, and the fact that it's not up to par to my current novels, it is solid in getting me to where I want to. I've had this journey of wanting to write my first book for a good while. Back in those elementary school years, I wanted to tell some sort of story, whether it's through comic books or even just pen and paper. It was unique, it was sparse, but I've always had the same conclusions. I've always wanted to tell a story about someone overcoming a sense of change and growth, but being stuck with the consequences that came with it. It was one that, to me, I've had a sense of understanding of the world, but I wanted to write my own story to fully get the grasp of what I was reading. And that alone made the first experience all the more thrilling because I didn't understand how a book was supposed to be. What I do know was the process. I knew that, taking for instance the Magic of Ordinary Days, books always had separations, whether it's through chapters, page numbers, broken pieces of text, and so on. All this in mind gave me a sense of hope in what I was trying to write. Originally, I've always wanted to write a nonfiction piece, but I needed to get to the gist of it. And one day, the more I get better at this craft and the better I write, I will write a book documenting how far I've come along in writing and all the tools that I've learned to personally help you. With that said, this video is going to be the easiest nutshell possible, and the first major thing, ignoring my own story, that I want to talk about is the expectations versus reality. Like my first book, I've had huge expectations for something that I didn't think was possible. It was a book written between the months of April of 2024 all the way to January of this year. I spent a good half a year writing this novel, mostly due to my own sheer laziness, and even if it only came out 200 pages short, it's still relatively effective because of what the reality was. My expectations were, despite it being high, were also relatively low. I made sure to keep consistent because the process of writing a book takes a while. Let's start out with you. For someone who's had ideas for brewing throughout their minds, it's good to know where to get started. I kept it simple. My first book had only 6 chapters in it, and then I had a title, and that was it. I broke each chapter down into 3 parts, the 3-act structure, which you can check out after this video. I used that to then fuel the stories and the pages. Using this as an example, I just continued writing more and more ideas. It was never about what the story was going to be structured as, but rather what I wanted to do with it. Let's figure out what we want out of your story. What is the purpose of this story you're trying to write? As I said at the start of this video, my own story and why I wrote it was all about the consequences. The consequences of said actions leading you to find new answers. When we understand that, or a general theme that you're thinking of, like good versus evil, we need to set an expectation to a reality that will allow us to write our book. The expectations of this story will allow us to make us better in the long run, but will also give us a sense of direction. Do we want to write a fiction or non-fiction piece? Do we want to write characters of this variety or characters of this variety? The coolest thing about a book is when you start writing it, even if it's as small as just writing the first 2 pages, your mind becomes instantly more sharper. Think of the last time you thought of your own imaginary worlds. Think of the times in which you had to start writing something that never had that sense of ecstasy, that never had that sense of victory. Because of the fact that for our lives, the more mundane it becomes, the less creative we are. Which is why I strive so much for those who want to write a book. Everyone, and I'm telling you, everyone wants to write a book one day. It's all about the matter of timing. And with this video meeting you at this exact time, this is your moment to start creating a world that you desired for so long, or a world you're fresh and new out of. I suggest books because, to me at least, fictional and non-fictional stories give us a sense of direction. With books, we've always had a clear mindset engaged. We want to read a piece from start to finish without losing track of what we're doing. And that's why I love books so much. With television and music and even sometimes movies, it distracts us. It distracts us from a lot of the things going on in the real world, and we're not gaining that knowledge. Books, however, are harder. It's a harder craft to get behind, and it's a harder piece to just read from start to finish. But being able to be a good reader allows us to be a better author, a better writer, and someone who doesn't have to rely on schoolwork or work or anything that involves writing. What we can do in our time instead is to start writing a book. A book allows us to have more sharper ideas because we're writing it all away. We're writing different words, different languages, and different ideas simply by the minds in our head. And that's the purpose I want to give away through these stories. I personally prefer fiction stories over non-fiction pieces, but it is all dependent on your perspective. When we understand what type of book you're going to write, we can then shape it down and narrow it. We want to get as specific as possible with this story. What kind of audience are you craving for? What kind of audience do you want people to understand when you're reading your story? Do you want it to be angsty teenagers? Do you want it to be for the workers who got off of work? Or do you want it to be someone closer to your age? The more we get down to this idea, the better we get. My upcoming novel, The Winning Complex, is one that's taken plenty of different sources, but it's still kept to the same simplistic grounds that much of my earlier stories have been of. And that's what fueled me to write so much this past year. I made sure to write over 100,000 words within the year of 2025. And so far, with me finishing both Artist v Critic as well as me working on this upcoming book, it has been coming out better than it's seen. It's been a great journey thus far, but it's all about the structure and what we can do with our purpose. When we understand why we want to write our book, we can get better at fueling the knowledge. The knowledge in what we're writing is going to give us a sense of direction. We have to start somewhere. Even if I can explain the entire structure, start from one page to the next, and just continue writing more ideas, all that matters is the moment you crave the idea. The moment you crave it, that's when you have inspiration. But that inspiration needs to come with action as well. All these books here were not written on the sole fact that they were books. They were written in the fact that they needed to tell a story or give out a message. And that's what I love about books. It gives us a sense of purpose simply by the nature it gives. And when we get down to the said structure, the said means, and when we break it down into more specific ends, the better our stories naturally become. I've had many moments when writing my second book, Artist v Critic, that the writing itself was trash. But to begin, you have to start out somewhere. No matter if someone else's opinions take over or your own mind decapitates you from doing more work, it's all about the discipline, being able to be consistent and to be structured of what you're trying to write. The moment we start treating our writing like this craft, this sense of purpose and belonging, the better our experience will become. Like my first book, which I written several years ago now. It's crazy to me that much time has passed, but in that time, I've written 2.5 novels. It's honestly been one of the most grateful experiences of my life because I realize even if time stagnates and keeps on moving forward, what we do in that time will be valuable. And why I suggest books so much is all because of the experiences I gathered from here. Books take only a week, it only takes 1 to 3 weeks to finish. But in the case of writing a book, it teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to be stronger mentally and physically. It teaches you why you should write a story and what kind of message you want the world to give. All kinds of contributions go viral. It's not just the worst we see nowadays whenever we scroll on social media. What I suggest now is to open up a Google or Word doc and start writing. It's never about what you get across, but rather what you do in that time. Obviously, you got to get better at the craft, but to be better at the craft, you need to start somewhere. Start writing a sentence, then 2 sentences, then 3. When you get down to your structure, similar to YouTube videos, it's all about the timing of which you describe, how you advertise the book, and what you can do to fuel a sense of knowledge. By fueling this knowledge, all these books seen here will be something that you will achieve. It will be something that you will become in the ranks of because you've written a book. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's all about writing more than you ever can anticipate. The first book I've ever written is one that I will always cherish and I will never forget. So remember that this is your first time writing, or it's a book you're planning to write that you've had ideas for years. It's all about the sense of hope that comes with it. And when you're motivated to continue writing, naturally, the better your work will become. I hope you can enjoy this video and use the message wisely through my words alone. If you want personal help from me so I can actively check your writing, then check the Instagram down the link in the description, and I will personally look at your writing and see what's right and what's not right. If you want an idea, a sort of structure of how these books are stylized, then check out my books in the top link of the description so you can see what I mean. Until next time, keep on reading, keep on writing, and take care.